This is the Best or Worst Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
All right, here we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Best or Worst Podcast. I am Martin.
And I am Koji.
All right, episode number 50. So our society is so focused on celebrity, we sometimes forget that regular people lead interesting lives too. Yes, I know it's hard to believe. Best or worst moment of your life? Hosts Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma are here to let out your story. We put people on the spot. What are you going to hear? It could be funny. It could be poignant. It could be sad. You'll know when we know. This is the Best or Worst Podcast. And today we'd like to say welcome to... You want to do the welcomes?
But you also forgot the last sentence.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, the Best or Worst Podcast. Sorry, folks. Let me try this again. The Best or Worst Podcast is a twice weekly podcast. On Tuesdays, we get to know our guest, and on Thursdays, we find out their best or worst moment.
And today is Tuesday. We're going to get to know our guest. Our guest is DC. DC, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Good to be here.
We're good. Thank you for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it. How is the quarantine life treating you?
Interesting. It's I'm an introvert a lot of times. I think selectively, so it's been good. But I get to spend a lot of time with my dogs. I have 2 dogs. But I think the best part of it for me has been because I work so much ordinarily, I don't get to take care of myself in terms of training. So I've really changed my my strength, my physique, and everything from doing home training.
And you're
pretty much 6 days a week.
And you're a physical trainer. And are you acting still, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're acting in physical
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I just auditioned. It's all taped auditions now.
Yeah.
I just had one for Channing Tatum's next film.
Yeah. Well, your life is eerily similar to mine. I'm an actor as well.
Yeah.
And a personal trainer.
I think a lot of personal trainers are actors or musicians, or you know, because it allows you to have a little freer schedule.
Yeah, it does. I've been in the game now. Geez, over 25 years. SAG-AFTRA, equity, all that good stuff. You're in a great city for it though. But yeah, training was always because I always worked out. And yeah, training. I hated waiting tables. I was horrible at it. But the training, just sort of came into me too. It's because I like to work out. I was always giving my friends workouts and sort of moved that way. It's actually what I predominantly do now. It's kind of weird, but I still miss my acting days.
So DC, tell us did you always want to be an actor? Is that something that you've always wanted to do? Tell us how you got into into that field.
Actually, the first thing I wanted to do was be a stuntman. I was a huge fan of Steve McQueen and that era of actors. James Dean is what got me into wanting to do acting. But originally I wanted to do stunts because I always thought you didn't have the spotlight, but you got to work in films, you got to work with great people, and you got to do physical stuff. And then when I realized how dangerous stuntman work was and everything, I was like, maybe acting. I saw East of Eden as a kid. I used to sneak down and watch old movies at night. Days when there would only be 3 channels on at night, and there'd be like an old movie station or something. And I caught East of Eden. I think I was like 12, and I totally fell in love with that movie. So.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in a suburb called West Seneca, Orchard Park, which is Western New York, just outside of Buffalo.
Okay. And how's life in New York?
It's a time capsule.
In what way?
It's funny because especially now, in this past, I was never a political person, but in the past, let's say 5 years, or 4 to 5 years, it's really made me pay attention to everything going on. And when I go back there maybe about once a year, I try to. And when I've gone back the past few times, especially last election, I see a lot of Trump signs, things like that. And people are very, people think of New York as being very progressive, but in the rural areas of New York and suburban areas in New York, it's some of it can be, especially Western New York, can be very stuck in time.
Yeah, like California, right? Like
Yeah.
San Francisco, LA is very progressive, but then you leave
San
like
Diego.
you go outside and it's a little bit less progressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's it's always a constant source of amusement for me, and sort of fodder for conversation, because LA, like you said, you drive 40 minutes outside and it's already it's Trump signs everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nuts.
And it's interesting too because driving there, I'm so used to development in big cities. I've been in LA over 20 years. So I'm always just seeing things develop, buildings and everything like that. And going back there where I grew up, the spacing between the houses is the same. There's no new buildings. Like the plaza is still there when I was 5 years old. It's just a weird feeling. It's like nothing ever changes there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
middle
it's
America,
crazy.
small town America,
It is,
right?
even though it's New York. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it's still like this small town. And what made you want to become a physical trainer? What was the impetus of that?
Actually, I had always gotten back in the days of just moving weight. I got involved with these I guess meatheads is what we used to call them. We just threw weight around, and this is the era of like post Schwarzenegger, not a really, not like the crazy physiques now. It was a lot more about strength and bulk. So I fell into these guys that were just like gym rats, and they would work out with like jugs of beer for carbohydrate and stuff like that, and just crazy shit that they would
Where
do.
was this?
This is in New York.
In
Like
New
they would just
York?
have like a
Yeah,
6-pack
man.
with them, or like a instead of a water bottle, they have like a jug of beer.
It's so
And
funny. 'Cause are you familiar with Marty Gallagher?
Marty Gallagher, I don't think so.
Marty Gallagher wrote a book called Purposeful Primitive. He's like the godfather of heavy lifting. I mean, he's coached several Olympic teams, and he worked with Bill Kazmaier, Ed Cohn, all those guys, the big heavy lifters. And yeah, but he in his book he talks about it because he trained for a while in New York, somewhere in New York, and he talks about the old school days, early '70s, late '60s. They would show up with jugs of beer and a 6-pack and just
Oh, so you didn't know?
grind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would just grind it out. And it's so funny to hear you say, because that's what he talked about. He goes, back in those days, these guys are just so simple. Need carbs, drink a fucking beer, and they do
Yeah,
that.
it was so
And then
weird.
they squat and yeah, and they weren't, and it was all like you said, all about just pure power. And he really redefined because he's still around. He really redefined how I like to train, because I'm old. As Koji will
Yeah.
eagerly tell you, I'm older than dirt, and I remember those days. It was never about aesthetics. It was about how much can you
No.
lift.
Well,
And
there's
for
no
me,
science then. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And it's funny because those guys you're talking about with the loads of carbs and the beers, they knew the science behind lifting,
Right.
the techniques. They knew how to like lift properly, and they don't get enough credit for that, man. It's like people see these guys that see meatheads, and I'm like, dude, it's an art to lift properly.
Yeah. Well, the thing too is when I say there's no science in terms of how much there is now, right?
Yeah.
Then it was kind of like you fell in a group and you sank or swam.
Yeah.
And some guys just had it, and some guys, just try to keep up. And I was one of the guys who just tried to keep up. I learned a lot, but I also learned I didn't really do anything based on movement patterns then. I just did it based on mimicking, right? And I think that's how a lot of people did.
Yeah. Hands-on experience beats everything else.
Yeah.
Getting out there and getting your hands dirty doing it, it beats any book. I mean, there's so much. You're right. There's so much science now, but it's so much of it is the same thing. We're just inundated. I don't think it has. I always with my clients, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I have a few loves when it comes to lifting. I have a love-hate relationship with my kettlebells.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been RKC Strong First. I've been certified through all of them, and I got to tell you, I look forward to days when I deadlifted, because deadlift was my thing. I couldn't bench press to save my life, but I could deadlift. I always look forward to those workouts when I worked out with dumbbells. If I had a heavy kettlebell workout coming up, I always dreaded it because it was just brutal. Sweet kettlebell workouts to me, they're so good for you, but to this day, I just dread when I have a heavy day coming up because I know I'm going to be hurting afterwards. But they're
I'm a squat person.
What's that?
I'm a squat person. I love squats.
I can't squat, dude. I have the legs of a 12-year-old boy in a wheelchair. I'm horrible at squatting.
But that's how I got into it. And then I moved out here, and I kind of just stayed away from fitness, and got more into the bar scene and club scene and stuff. I was a club promoter, ran a club promotion company for like 12 years in Hollywood.
Oh, cool.
And then after that, I started realizing, getting a certain age, drinking 3 nights a week was probably not the best idea. So the best way for me to get my life back in order in terms of health goes was to turn back to fitness. So then I became a trainer out here. I went through the, certification, ASM, and things like that.
So you're here in LA?
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, you're here in LA? Oh, for some reason I thought you were
Yeah.
in New York. Oh, that's cool.
No, he grew up in New York.
Yeah, in Seneca. Yeah, West Seneca.
So you have 2 doggies? Tell us about your dogs. What are their names?
I have a miniature pinscher. She's the oldest, named Junita or Juno. She is, what year is this? She's 13.
Wow.
She's in good shape. She's in really good shape, actually. I think it says she sleeps a lot. And then I have a Catahoula leopard dog. You know what that is?
No, I've never
Say
seen
that again?
Catahoula leopard dog.
Okay.
They're a Louisiana hunting dog. They're kind of like a retriever, Labrador type dog.
Oh, cool.
A lot more streamlined. They tend to have spots like a leopard, or a lot of heavy merles. So that's why they call them leopard dogs. Very smart, very need attention, things like that. And he's, 2005 years old, a little 5.
Wow, baby.
Oh, wow.
Archer. His name's Archer. He's named after the cartoon Archer.
Archer?
My favorite cartoon.
Oh, man. H. John Benjamin.
Yeah, hilarious.
Lana.
I'm sad as it hasn't been on. New season hasn't come out.
You know what's so funny for me, though, is because I watched it religiously, and then, like, 3 years ago, I stopped, and they were still coming out. And at first I was like bummed I wasn't watching, but now I realize, with Hulu and everything else, and Fox, is it Fox on Hulu or FX on Hulu? I think it is. They have every episode of Archer, so now I can catch up, and it's Archer just kills me, dude.
It's one of the best written shows. Like I was never into animation before. I was into some Japanimation, but when someone convinced me to watch Archer, I just fell in love with the writing. It was so reminiscent of Mitch Herwick, who did Arrested Development. So.
Yeah, it's this. I mean, there's so much subtlety. Have you watched it, Koji?
No.
Oh, Archer is one of the.
Hilarious.
I always tell this is one of my old clients that I trained for years, and he reminded me of Archer. He just had that Archer attitude.
Yeah.
He was like, because Archer he's a great spy, but
the voice casting is unbelievable. Like H. John Benjamin is not what you picture Archer to look like.
No, right? Except the eyes. He does have those blue eyes. Though when H. John Benjamin, when I first saw him for the first time, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Then he started doing those. It wasn't Jack in the Box. It was Carl's Jr. commercials.
Did he? I don't know.
Yeah, Arby's. We have the meats. Oh, you didn't see those? And he was the guy that said for sandwiches. That was him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had he must have done 5 or 6 commercials for them because it would always crack me up. His voice, he's the voice also of Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Archer's great.
Yeah, when I watch TV, I usually watch the pilot episode and one episode just to get a sense of the show. Because I mean, what I need to do is get a sense of what's happening in the show, because ultimately, I need to watch a lot of television in order to be able to write television or to pitch television shows. So I'm not really enjoying, the point of me watching is not to enjoy it, but to more to understand it.
Research.
Research, because I mean, it's also it means that even if I like a show, I usually don't really get into it because there's 50 other things I need to watch, because there's always a pitch meeting where they're like, have you seen this show? It's we want that kind of show. And you're like, oh, okay. No.
I told you about me auditioning in Chicago about that, right? How, I'd go in, because I started my acting career in Chicago, and I was auditioning for so Christian and I talked about it a little bit when he was on the show. But yeah, you talk about watching shows not being fun anymore. I remember being an actor and going to an audition for a big TV show at the time, and all these, this is the country me coming up. All these highfalutin actors who were like, I'm an actor, I don't watch TV, I do theater and all this kind of stuff. And so 2 guys went ahead of me, and 2 of these guys that I knew were just like that. Walked in for their auditions, and they were out in 2 seconds. I was like, what's going on? And finally the casting director comes out and goes, if one more motherfucker says they don't watch TV, don't you ever fucking come back in here. Because you're an actor.
Yeah.
This is a television show. This is your job.
No, I watch TV. I watch a lot of TV. I just
No. I know you do. I'm just saying it's kind of
watch
funny.
the whole, like, I can't watch a lot of a TV show. That's all. But DC, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing? I know it's hard to be a personal trainer in person now. Tell me a little bit about how you've been spending your time in the quarantine.
I've been working out a lot, like I said before, because I also bar manage and bartend. So I was working probably for the past 3 years, about 60 hours a week at least.
Wow.
Between both jobs. So I was just constantly working. I'd work out maybe once a week, once a month. I wasn't working out that much. So having all this time, I work out. I make sure I try and work out at least 5 to 6 days a week. It's really changed me in terms of mentality, strength, form, weight loss, obviously, muscle gain. So I've been doing that. That's been my primary focus, and spending a lot more time with the dogs, so I don't get to see them that much. And I've realized that they spend a lot of time sleeping, even when I'm here. So I don't think that they really miss me. I think they're actually wishing I'd go back to work, because I bother them constantly, and they're just like, just leave me alone, you know?
Those dogs are like, this motherfucker, man. It's time
Yeah,
for
you
you to
should go back. Exactly.
It's like being on vacation, having your parents stay at home the whole time. So what is your preferred form of exercise? Do you use dumbbells, kettlebells, bands?
Well, since it's all home stuff, actually, I'm building quite a good home situation.
Yeah.
I miss squats. Like I don't have a squat rack, so I bought a squat rack, and I'm trying to figure out how to put it into my place. Yeah. So I have a big enough place where I could put it in. I just have to remove a couch.
You get it from Rogue?
Yeah. I was on a wait list for like 3 months, and I found
Yeah, dude, they are. This is the best and worst thing that ever happened to them, because they are backlogged big time.
Yeah, I've actually been able to build good kettlebell collection, which I've had already, but to fill in the gaps because of clients. Because I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I might have to start off on my own. I'm looking at property to rent downtown to rent for clients. The thing is, we were open at Equinox for about 3 weeks. And none of my clients' offices, all my clients work downtown. None of them live downtown. Yeah. So none of my clients' offices were open. So it was like pointless for me to even go back to Equinox. So I'm thinking downtown.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, I don't know what's going to happen, especially since things seem to be getting better in Los Angeles County.
No, they're not.
I've been looking at space downtown. I've been looking at building. So I'm building my own stuff here. I have a good set of dumbbells, good set of kettlebells, squat rack. Only thing I'm really missing is bumper bars. So once I get that squat rack in, I actually rigged this thing where for climbing. So there's these balls that you hook on the straps and you can use for grip climbing like this, right? They're they look like.
Did you get those from Fit Bar?
No, I got it from. I got those from Amazon actually.
But
they're basically.
Yeah, I know exactly what they are. It's a ball with a hook on it. The ball has a hook on it.
Well, this one just has the ball, and then it has a metal loop. But then you take the carabiner in the strap, and you hook that on like a hanging bar or something, or a pull-up bar, right?
Yeah.
So what I figured out to do is, until I can get bumper plates, I rigged it almost like chains that you rig on a barbell. So I can put my kettlebells on this apparatus. So the kettlebells are hanging from the barbell. I can't put a lot of weight because I can only put one kettlebell on each side, But that's what I'm going to do until I can get bumpers or regular plates, because those are all out.
Yeah, my wife won't let me put in a squat rack here. I'd like to get a squat rack for several reasons, but man, we've been building out our home gym too. I mean, I have a lot of kettlebells because they're like a gym in themselves. I just got a TRX yesterday that came in the mail. I was really happy about that. Because that helps with my upper body stuff. But I've been doing a lot of body weight stuff. But anyway, we can keep talking all day long about this, DC. So we're about to wrap up our first episode. And before we leave, DC, it's been great talking to you, getting to know you. I'm looking forward to hearing, your best or worst. To all you folks out there, please tell a friend about the show. It's all we're going to ask you. Just tell one person about our show if you're listening to us, okay? We'd love to hear from you also. Koji, I'll let you take it from here. Our outro.
Wait, what's our outro?
Whatever you say. I feel like, I said goodbye.
Our outro was to tell a friend.
Yeah, no, tell a friend. Tell a friend. You know what it is? I'm covering my ass. I'm covering my ass.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, DC. Thank you, Martin. And check out the next episode. Like Martin said, it's going to be the best or worst. So try to figure out if we're going to ask him the best or worst, and try to figure out what DC's answer will be. So bye, everybody.